Well, we're back at Model Citizen Tattoo. Another day at work with the printer not working. What are we doing today, Fritz?
Doing the castle.
Yeah, it's more like it's a castle. More like a tower.
Yeah.
Yeah, it has this like weird like Shin area. So, whoa, back up here. We're gonna try to fit it in that space. A lot of times, like I draw it out. Like I have a picture of his shin, but it's always like a little different when it comes time like application of stencil. So I'm gonna print out like what I got, and we're just gonna mold it into that position. I feel like this is gonna be like too small, but we'll see. Let's go see how this fits and make adjustments from there. This is already looking a little better. That looks wimpy. It's a little wimpy castle thing. Your eyes, be careful with these. Sometimes like I overdraw, like I do too much detail, and then it ends up being kind of small, and it's just like a million lines that don't even make sense. All right, let's cut this out. Let's see how this one is. I like the height, but I want to go wider, I think. So I'm going to try that. I usually get it exactly how I want it, and then I get the client's input. Because sometimes doing that all at once can be difficult. So it's like, let me get this together. I'm going to show you exactly how I think it should go. And then if the client wants to make adjustments from there, no problem. But it kind of eliminates some steps. I think the size is good. But this area is kind of a motherfucker because it like bends.
Right.
So we're going to be playing around with this a little bit. The ankle and the knee don't really line up. So we're like on anyone. So we're gonna play around with that. All right, sir, can I have you stand, please? So I'm just gonna get the stencil on. We'll take a look at it, like wearing it, and then if we wanna make adjustments, no problem.
Okay.
So one thing you want to be really careful of, especially when freehanding straight lines like I'm doing, is that you're not pulling on the skin. Take a look right here. One of the huge mistakes I used to make was I would draw like this, and it would pull the skin, and I would make a weird line. So whenever I'm doing that, I'm making sure I'm like floating, I'm not distorting the skin. This can be everything. I mean, even the tips, all it takes is pulling the stencil a little bit, and like you've, completely altered the direction of whatever it is you're doing. And then what I'll do is, even when I draw like this, just because it's a little bit more comfortable, I'm then again gonna ask him to step up, if you would, sir. And I'm gonna double check that when he's standing, it looks nice and straight. So cool, this looks nice and straight, right where we want it. These lines look good, everything looks good, but there's a lot of checking involved when doing this. Like, why not just take the extra minute, have them get up, make sure it looks good, and then run it. So we're just gonna let it dry now, and then we're gonna get into the tattoo. I'm gonna be running a 5-liner mostly. I'll do like a 3-liner for some small details, and then I have a 9 for just some thick boy on the outside. I'm gonna put a decent border on this piece just because it's up against a bunch of other pieces, so it'll help kind of stand alone. So we'll start with the 5. Good to go, sir?
Yeah.
Fritz just asked me what I was thinking about while I'm tattooing.
I didn't, but go on.
What I'm thinking about is if we just started giving Fritz a ton of Adderall every day, if it would make him a better worker or worse. And I was thinking of both scenarios. Like maybe he comes in just so like hyper focused that he accomplishes all his work, but maybe his personal touch suffers, which I would like totally be okay with. Or maybe he goes completely south and he just cannot focus at all. And he becomes strung out and asks all of us to borrow money all the time. And it becomes like weird. Like we avoid him because we know he's gonna ask for money. And then he starts trying to hand out sexual favors to the others in the shop for money, like prostitution.
John, come to the bathroom real quick.
Yeah. It's a gamble I'm willing to take. That's what I'm getting at. What do you think, Fritz?
Let's run it.
You down?
Sure.
We are at the best part of the tattoo, the end. We're letting it bleed out. I just put in a little bit of white highlights. The way that this piece is designed for our light source, pretty much a dead center light source, you know? So our side columns that kind of veer out in perspective, they're like a little darker. And then our center, you know, is what's catching all the light. So you can see the blood kind of pulling up where I put the white, which is really just in the center, you know, just to emphasize that light source. This piece I did have pre-designed here, meaning that I planned out the shading prior to the tattoo. Sometimes I'll only do the line work and I'll just figure it out in the tattoo. This one, however, I did plan out. The lines that I ended up using total were mostly a tight 5-liner, and the 9, like to talk about in the beginning, I really just used the 9 to go completely around the piece, and then just to like separate, you know, certain forms or pieces of the structure. Otherwise, you know, 5-liner. Once you shade it in, they aren't as apparent, the lines, but that's cool. That's kind of what I wanted. We are looking at a piece with a lot of symmetry. I mean, really with that, I'm just doing it by eye. I'm not using any like, you know, special trick really. Just doing one side, you know, to completion, then the next, matching them up, make sure they look the same. You know, throughout the piece, I would have him stand up just to check it at rest, make sure, you know, the fade looked good. Because things can kind of warp, even his foot moving this way can stretch the whole left side of the piece. So these are just some things to keep in mind. Like I said, we're just letting it bleed out, relax, and we'll get some pictures and videos.